job. Excellent. Talk a little bit more about how you're getting these realtors into this did you say it's a webinar?
Yeah.
Talk about that.
So, you can do a webinar on anything, right? I'm kind of spinning this off of something a coach in our coaching group is doing, which is like winning in a transitional market. But I'm taking this webinar. It's called Winning Solutions in a Unique Market. Basically, I'm taking like psychology, like everything that I've heard from agents, like all these good things. I'm just going to compile it into a big webinar about like how you can win more. So it's like talk tracks, right? So I read a great book about like asking the right questions. I've got some ideas around questions to ask listing agents when you're making an offer. I've got loan programs. I've got what we do here at Zenith. I've got some strategies around how you might be able to maximize the seller's listing timeline, all these different things I'm compiling into a class. And then I'm just calling people, and it's not hard to just call people and be like, hey, I was thinking about you. I really loved working with you if it's a listing agent, or I really wanted to, and they're like, oh, fuck, here it comes. He's going to ask me to coffee. And I'm like, I just want to invite you to a webinar. And they're like, oh, that's so sweet of you. Like, yeah, I'd love for you to join, or I'd love to join. Right. So it's a great kind of icebreaker, and I'm able to do two things, which is like provide value and then also kind of highlight what I do and what we do here at Zenith too, which I think will help kind of ease them into potentially having a meeting down in the future. And so it's been super successful calling people this week.
Great job, dude. That's awesome. Congratulations. That's what I want to try to do on these, is highlight some of the wins, and everybody has a chance to learn from everybody else. So thanks for sharing that, dude. I appreciate it. So this book is called Rebooting Your Brain. You're going to be getting a copy of it in the mail or at the office, depending on where you spend most of your time. And Dave Savage does this to me a lot. Like Dave Savage interviews, he must know me pretty well, because he'll interview somebody, because he interviews somebody every week. And every now and then he sends me an interview, like, you'll like this one. And so that's what he did when he sent me the Jim Deitch interviews, which is what we're doing with Encompass now. And that's having a big impact on me. And then he sent me this one. I listened to this interview twice. And so then I bought the book. And this guy went through COVID. He's always been in the business of, there's like a business consulting firm that he runs. And he went through COVID and nearly died. He was in the hospital for like, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks. He's one of those guys that got it really bad and he couldn't breathe, and he thought he was going to die. He was like 4 or 5 days in ICU at the very end thinking, and then all of a sudden he recovered. And going through that process, he came out and he realized, he knew that he was near death, and he came out and he realized that his thinking had changed and really adjusted. And he no longer was thinking about, he wasn't thinking as negatively as he noticed he used to think all the time. And he wanted to understand why, because that's the business that he's in, right? And human performance, corporate company performance. And so he started studying all this stuff, and he worked with psychologists and brain people all over the world. And apparently there's something that happens. So everybody knows what post-traumatic stress disorder is, right? It's something that happens in a really stressful deal and it affects you negatively. But there's a small percentage of people that go through something really stressful like he did, and they come out of it better. They come out of it with a more positive outlook on life, and because something changed in their thinking and their brain. And so I'm getting so much out of this book. And there's the two main areas, and something Dean stole my thunder a little bit, but there's 2 areas that this guy focuses on. And the first one is ultimate responsibility, understanding that ultimately we are all responsible for where we are right now based on everything we've done and all the choices we've made. And understanding and accepting that responsibility is really the key, the first key, because so many people go through life with making excuses and, well, I had this and I had that and I can't do this and I don't know how to do that. And I got a bad break, and my parents were who they are. I went to school where I went to school. I'm not, all of that stuff. I'm not very smart. So understanding and accepting ultimate responsibility for where you are is the first step. And then the second one is what Dean alluded to, which is understanding that we all have this limitless ability to learn. any one of us can learn anything that we decide we want to learn. And you've done that your whole life. And it starts with, he uses a great analogy of when we're first born. As babies, we think we believe that we can accomplish anything because no one has told us we can't. Right. And that's how our brains are designed, that we believe that we can do anything that we want to do. And it starts with crawling around on the floor. When we're tiny little kids, we crawl around on the floor, and we look around one day and we realize that other people are walking while we're crawling. And we just decide that we're going to try to do that. And so we scooch over to the table and we pull ourselves up, and we're standing there shaking and holding on, and we let go of the table and we fall down. And on average, they say that a baby falls down 17 times an hour learning how to walk. Can you imagine 17 times an hour and having to get back up and do it again? And if it was us and we failed 17 times an hour, I was like, I can't fucking do this. And we would just stop trying. Can you imagine if a baby did that? There'd be all these adults crawling around on the floor every day. And so it's just this mindset shift that makes you realize it's all the self-talk. So it's kind of a psycho-cybernetics type thinking. It's a little bit of Joe Dispenza-y, but really it's the psycho-cybernetic stuff with applications that I've never heard before that I'm really finding really impactful. I'm about 2/3 of the way through the book, but I liked it so much that I wanted to send it to everybody and turn it into something that we read together. Maybe try to bang out 20 pages every couple of weeks, and then discuss it on the call and what you've learned and what you've taken away from it. I'm finding it really powerful. And I created, one of the things is there's a little bit of an affirmation thing, but it's affirmations differently than I've heard them before, which is when it gets into some of the details of how our minds work, something like 60 to 70% of the things we say to ourselves are negative. And you don't realize that when I heard that, you're like, no, that's not true. And then you start to think about the little things that you say and do about what's hard in your life. It's almost like you affirm things that aren't going well is hard for you. It's like, oh, this is hard. This is hard. And so you just keep telling yourself something's hard. That it's not hard. It's just that you haven't mastered it yet. And so, but telling yourself it's hard over and over again just creates a result that you don't want. It's kind of a fascinating approach. It's really simple, but with great background detail on how it works and how we can all benefit from using it. So I created one. I have this hearing issue and tinnitus and everything else. Just in the last week, I was telling Ryan about this the other day. Just in the last week, once I figured out what they're trying to teach me, I created a simple affirmation that I printed out, and I'm keeping it in front of me all the time. And it says, "The sound is harmless, and my brain is learning to tune it out, so I never notice it." And I keep telling myself, I don't know why my phone is doing that. Hang on. I'm just gonna. I printed it out so that I could read it on a regular basis, and I'm saying it to myself all the time, and I'm starting to just not hear it. It's still there. I know it's there, but I just don't hear it. I'm tuning it out, which is the goal of most of the therapy that I'm putting myself through, is to just tune out the noise. Even though my hearing isn't any better, but I'm tuning out how annoyed it makes me when it gets a little bit louder. And so really, really fascinating book. I'm looking forward to sharing it with everybody and sharing it with more and more people. So you'll be getting a copy of it. You'll want to buy it for your kids, because I'm going to buy a copy for my sons. Jacqueline's already getting one. Lori will have one, but really powerful. I think you'll really enjoy it. So look forward to that. So that's it. And then the last thing is this schedule that we're doing on the Coffee for Closers with Kara here. Man, you just have no idea how much stress has been relieved for me. And what we're going to do is, what's that?
We can see it.
Yeah. Every week, we'll do a call like this that's for sales coaching, things like this, like we just discussed today. We'll talk about wins, things like that. And then the other week, what I want to do is get Kara on this call to get sales training stuff going, where she's talking about, Giuseppe brought up condos. She's going to walk through. I'm sitting here talking to somebody about condo shit that I've I've never known all this shit. She's like, oh yeah, she's going to get with all of our investors and find out what they'll accept and what they won't, and figure out when we have to use the condo desk and when we don't. And it's just going to be amazing. Like, I'm listening to her and I'm like going, why the fuck haven't I ever heard this stuff? Why did I had Kim here who was, and I just got to find myself for using that name. I'm just going to quit talking about it, but just not having that kind of expertise. I'm telling you, when you get an A player in the room, it changes everything. And we also hired her right-hand person is going to be starting a week from this coming Monday. So not this week, not Memorial Day, but the following Monday. And she is remote. She lives in Illinois, but Kara worked for Thrive. Thrive was based in Georgetown, Texas. Everybody in operations was remote. Their entire company was remote, and they had about 70 people that worked around the country. So maybe I need to grow up and be a little more open to the remote work thing, as much as I don't like it, just because, man, I would hate to have passed up on an A player talent, and just because they don't necessarily work in Littleton or Greenwood Village and close enough to be in the office, as much as I wish that was the case. So the world's evolved. Anyway, I'm super excited about that and creating that. So she's already planning on coming on next week, and that first subject matter is going to be based on condos. But bring your questions, right? And if you want her to talk about something, send her questions. So I'll remind you guys on maybe Wednesdays every week if you have any questions that you want Kara to cover on the call. This will be a great opportunity for you to get some time for everybody else to learn. I really want to take advantage of her knowledge and background. She spent some time with Jonathan yesterday on post-closing and that process. And she's like, she should just, really sharp. It's just fun to have somebody really sharp. Jack, go ahead.
This other person that we hired, what's their role?
She's going to be like the utility player, the utility infielder for the operations department. So she has a really, really strong processing background, as well as a really, really strong underwriting background. So she's going to be focusing most of her time and energy on processing and underwriting. Kara's going to be focusing on, because Kara's already, I got to be careful how I say this. Kara's already had a little bit of, not pushback, but philosophical differences in the underwriting approach. Am I saying that the right way? And Kara's like, oh my God, they're so conservative. Like, it's crazy how simple they make things that are simple don't need to be this complicated. And it's really cultural. This will be a cultural shift for us because and we kind of have been used to this the whole time. This was like this. I feel like it was like this the whole time we were at VIP, where there was never anybody who had so much confidence and knowledge about credit and what the investors will and won't accept, what Fannie will and won't allow, that as it relates to condos, as it relates and Ginnie and FHA and VA and what they will and won't do. I don't feel like anybody at VIP was like this gal, where they're like, you can do this and I can defend it, so we're doing it. And so it's just that, what the last manager would have told me is like, well, Dave, you need to make a business decision about what you want to do here. And I was like, okay, why do I have you? I mean, that's really how that feels to me. It's like, well, why do I have you then? Like, I have to make the decision and you can't tell me what's going to happen. Like, I want somebody who knows what the hell is going to happen and can tell me, like, I got this, go do it, or don't do it. Right? Like, that's what you want. And so just super excited to have somebody with that much depth and confidence. It's really fun to watch. So anyway, her name is Araceli. I don't know where who was calling me just now because I left her a message yesterday. And she'll be out here that first week after May. She'll be out here that first week of June in the office Monday through Friday, working with Kara and the team and getting to know everybody. And so it's really exciting. The other thing that we're doing is we've switched companies that we were working with on Encompass. That is Matchbox was the company that we were working with. We're working with a company called Terra Verde. Terra Verde is going to be in charge of us moving our Encompass platform to the web, which is going to be a very very efficient new way of doing business as time goes on. So Encompass is going to sunset the version that we're on now eventually. And so this isn't a thing that is a nice to have. It's a thing that's going to have. You're going to have to do it. And so, but the amount of business automation and efficiencies that it can create are pretty fascinating. So I'm looking forward to doing that as well. And then the last announcement that I need to make is that with Mike's help, we're going to be vetting out new product and pricing engines, looking at OB first. LoanPass has just caused us a lot of issues that, you have been shielded from. But there's been, I don't know, Mike, how many, 6, 7, 8 locks that were done with, you saw the price, you took the price and the price was wrong. And because it was programmed incorrectly in the system by the vendor. And we've taken some huge hits on deals. And the last one was a deal that Harbor locked last week that was just like, oh my God, that's enough. And so we're going to get out of that contract and look at, so that's the risk side of this business is like, you got to honor the lock. You can't tell the customer, oh, sorry, I meant to charge you 0.5 point more. And so, it is what it is. But we're going to go. So we're looking at that. I have the first discovery call with them this afternoon. So just so you know what's happening there. Questions, feedback.
Oh, I'm already muted. We would love OB so we could do Ray alerts again. Just saying. That'd be great. Granted,
Well,
NBS
I'll be honest with you.
I know they said don't do that, right? Because really those aren't refi rate alerts or something like that, right?
No. It was
They're
the
really
cost.
expensive.
So
Yeah.
VIP was paying a lot more for that than they realized.
Mm.
And they weren't charging us the way they should have been charging us for that. OB charges a lot for this. Like it's like they charge a lot. Meanwhile, you should have it all set up in MBS now, don't you?
Yeah. Do you go in and customize it?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah. I just, because there's a lag until they're uploaded. So like the 3rd week of May, I have a standing task that says, go make sure all the April closings are in there and accurate. So, I mean, the first time I updated all of them, which took a long time,
Yeah.
but now you're just updating, the ones that closed that previous month. And they auto import. They're usually like an 1/8 off. Sometimes, sometimes the rate they locked is way better than what MBS has in there. And sometimes it's a little worse, but once it's done, obviously just a few have popped in these couple of years that we've been using it, but
Yeah.
Yeah, same with G. Mine's like the first Friday of every month. I update all my spreadsheets for rate alerts and email lists, and then the strike alert. And then if I haven't had the conversation with the client, I'll do a 0.5%. But if I have, then I'll set the actual alert that they told me to strike. Right.
8 away from the- Okay.
Yeah, you got to go in there. There's a lot that first like day.
I know.
Like
That's
4
what I'm like-
hours, but it's all good. I have a win I forgot to tell everyone about. I told Ryan on Saturday at Owen's birthday party, or Hudson's. So I'm using Amir's new script. So I got a referral last week, and she's, I was like, oh, how did my name come up? Blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, well, you were on a list of 3. I was like, okay, great. And she's like, and then I just plugged your name in. I plugged all 3 names into ChatGPT, and it spit out that you were the best.
wow.
So, and I use ChatGPT a lot, and I type in like, hey, I'm a top lender in Denver. I need a script for blah, blah, blah. So I don't know if it's like using
does.
that, or if it's just like, I'm sure it's just a glorified Google search essentially. So I don't know if it's just pulling from reviews and then it's set
It
up.
is, yeah.
So
for
not a
reviews, but
dude, you need
I
to
was like,
study
that's
this.
cool.
You need to study this more. It is so not a glorified Google search.
Well, I just typed in, give me the best lenders in Denver, and it basically put all the people that you would find in a Google search because they're at the top of the.
Well, that's the thing. That's what pulls a lot from his SEO stuff. So yeah, like it looked at your Google reviews, but I think it does learn off of itself. So when you're telling it, my name's Bob, I'm a top lender, like, yeah, that's what it does. Cause I've heard another Michael Harrington, that coach and go, G.
Yeah.
A client, sorry, not G, Dave. Same thing happened. Like they chopped in like, give me a top lender and whatever, Green Village, and his name just pops up. So I guess maybe like, you know, once a day, just go into Chat GPT and type in there, I'm the best lender in the world.
Yeah. So, and I locked her in, I think, Tuesday. Yeah.
That's awesome. So good.
That's
Wow, that's quick.
Crazy.
That's
That's
So
great.
great.
yeah, try to use it. I mean, maybe that's the way people are going to do it nowadays. I don't know.
Oh, for sure. There's definitely a handful of people that trust GPT and Reddit more than in their real estate agents. So
That's funny. That's funny. All right, right on. I got nothing else. Have a nice Memorial Day weekend, everybody, and enjoy time with the fam.